Dot, 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 dot. Good morning, everybody. This is Grant from State of the Spark, and we've got a great show for you today. We're going to cover the main thing that most failures all have in common, and 3 times that I almost failed entirely, except for the one thing that saved my fanny, and it saves my fanny time and time again. We're going to talk about, I shouldn't say fanny for the British viewers. My butt. That's what I was talking about. We're going to be covering Lunar Leftovers. I love that title so much. We're going to keep that title. I don't even need to write my own. We're going to be talking about colorblind mesa art. But before any of that, you know what we're going to be doing. We're going to be sharing Morning Cup of Gratitude. What are you grateful for this morning? I want to hear about it. I want you to tell me in the comments right now, today, as we're talking, what you're absolutely most grateful for today. What are you pumped about? What's getting you going? What can you you won't be able to stand it if you don't share it with somebody else. I want to hear about that from you, what you're absolutely most grateful for. Let me refresh my pages. There we go. What I'm grateful for this morning, absolutely, is we had a little bit of a chaotic moment yesterday with the team. Someone had to go to the doctor, but we were able to step in. And yes, there was a lot of work to do, but it wasn't sheer chaos. It was just a lot of work. And so we were able to navigate that very well. I was very grateful for that. I am time and time again absolutely grateful for the Discord. We got a great group, and they've given us a lot of great referrals. My freaking one crypto investments paying out 10% every 5 days. What? Is that even real? Yeah, we talk about it. Go visit us at the Discord. And listen, if you do enjoy the show, if you do like what you see, if you find someone who needs to hear a positive message, like or share or tag them in the comments. But I'm grateful for the Discord. I'm grateful for another brand new day that we're going to be out and having coffee at a local coffee shop. I'm super excited about being out. And we're going to talk actually a little bit about that today. And last but not least, I'm just grateful for my partner and wife, who's probably in the other room under a blanket. I'm just grateful for her. We didn't have a good end of the day yesterday. It was busy. It was chaotic. It was challenging, but I like the fact that she and I can go out to dinner and still be together. I really enjoy that. I'm grateful for that. Let's talk about Lunar Leftovers. Scientists believe they have found a lost piece of the moon. Yes, you heard that right. We have a near-Earth asteroid, and every April, this near-Earth asteroid orbits the planet, and a group of astronomers and astronomy students gather religiously to study this piece. It appears so far that it is a broken piece of the moon. Ben Sharkey is a graduate student at the Department of Planetary Sciences in the University of Arizona. And he has discovered, along with his friends, a pattern of reflected light. Now, they've actually got like repositories of reflected light that they use to actually identify asteroids and meteors and quasi, what do they call this one? Quasi near-Earth asteroid, quasi satellite. They have these references for all of this, and it's basically color spectrum, and they match that color spectrum to the recordings of this particular near-Earth satellite. And this particular one doesn't match anything in the database, so it's kind of new, and they wrote a paper about it. But then it dawned on them to try other materials, so they actually went off and began testing this against rock samples brought back from actually the Apollo mission. And they realized that the patterns of light of this particular quasi-satellite actually match the light spectrum that reflects off of the rock samples from the moon. So this was very intriguing. And so as their paper then certifies or purports, is that, yes, this near-Earth asteroid or quasi-satellite could likely be a broken piece of the moon. Now, what is a quasi-satellite? It's a subcategory of near-Earth asteroids. So there's just tons of near-Earth asteroids. We have many of them, as most planets do. But a quasi-satellite is a particular one that orbits both the sun and the Earth. Now, apparently, this chunk of the moon entered Earth's orbit. Now, that doesn't mean it broke off of the moon in this time period. But this particular chunk of the moon entered Earth's orbit in this particular orbit about 500 years ago. And they predict, based on mathematical models, that it will change its trajectory in about 300 years. So that's your dose of knowledge this morning. What a near Earth asteroid is, what a quasi satellite is, and how on earth, and this is the question they're asking themselves. I'm putting the link in the comments. The question they're asking themselves is, where did this chunk of moon come from? Is the moon actually originally part of the Earth? Well, a lot of material scientists says no, not at all. It's a completely different object. Was it Nibiru that crashed into us and just became a moon planet for us? Who knows? But you can see right there, I think this is an artist mock-up of what that chunk of the moon could look like. Let's talk about, what do colorblind people see at art shows? A museum in Mesa. I believe it's Mesa, New Mexico, Mesa, Arizona. I'm not even really sure. I should have looked at the state. I didn't. A museum in Mesa is now offering art experiences for the colorblind. Now, you see, I didn't realize this, but throughout America, 8% of men have some sort of color blindness, but only 0.5% of women do. Listen, I am starting to float a theory that women are actually not like men and women and we make up the species. I actually think women are the future of the species because only 0.5 of them are colorblind. More evidence that they are the superior species. But 8% of men are colorblind, and that means about 13 million people go through life, in America anyway, with some degree of color blindness. Now, what often happens is, and the story came up by a guy by the name of Hayden Sauerer, his children, I believe, his two sons, were both born colorblind. And he is an artist and he paints with bright colors and he goes crazy with vibrant colors like art back here. And he realized when they were very young that they couldn't actually see his art. Well, this museum in Mesa, New Mexico, put together, started collecting pieces of art that were very vibrant that they knew colorblind people could not see. Well, that's cruel, except they actually got Enchroma glasses. And some of you might have seen those very inspirational videos on YouTube and on TikTok of colorblind people seeing color for the first time with these Enchroma glasses. It's actually very stirring and very mind-boggling. And it expands the color spectrum for colorblind people, and they can suddenly start seeing colors that they could never see before. And the testimonies of colorblind people going through this art show and seeing purples and seeing greens for the first time ever is quite moving. You can see right there in the thumbnail some of the pieces, and I think New Mexico, or at least the Southwest, is a great place for this because the art is so bright and so vibrant and so trippy. When you think about the Four Corner States, you think it's very drab, it's very dreary. But if you just get into any of the populated areas, you realize it's very vibrant in color. It's very exciting and lively. And for them to do an art show in the Four Corner States with Enchroma glasses for the colorblind is very, very stirring. So hopefully that's your pieces of other news. Let's actually talk about the one thing that nearly all failures have in common. And 3 times in my life when I nearly completely fell on my face just at life, I almost failed entirely at life. And the one thing that saved me, and that can save you too. Now, over the last year and a half, 2 years, we've been really focused internally on our website business. Last year, around November, we parted ways with our last team. And then by December, we had a brand new team in. And that team is passionate and willing, positive, hardworking, and we've developed a strong affection for them. And they're a really good team. And so over the last year, since last November, it's November now, we've spent the last year actually focusing on raising them up, training the team. Well, maybe we should get some sales going. Well, let's focus on the team. Let's focus on the team. And over the last year, we've done some sales, but we haven't done any concerted or very little conservative marketing activities. In fact, we've just focused on making sure our awesome team is strong and up and running. And that is the right thing to focus on. We neglected the marketplace, but that was the right thing to focus on. But we realized, okay, now that we're strong and now that the team is good and now the machine is moving well in the website company, we then look around and realize, hey, we actually haven't done many sales. We've gotten the few sales we have, we've raised our prices. So we've been very selective in the clients we've had. But we realized we've kind of let that go a little too far and it's time to focus on sales again, but there's this hang up. Where do you begin anew? Now we could just do paid ads and paid marketing and social media, but when you're stuck like that, what do you do? Real quick, thanks for the like this morning, Brock and Root and Assad. I hope everyone's doing great this morning. So we could face falling flat on our face if we don't actually start focusing on marketing and sales. Again, we've raised our prices. We've been very selective with the clients we've taken on of late. We're very happy with the one client we brought on recently who really serves a lot of other clients that we have a lot of respect for. But we do need to expand marketing. And as you know, when's the best time to plant an avocado tree? 4 years ago. When's the second best time? Right now. When's the best time to get your marketing going? Well, continuously over the last 2 or 3 years. When's the next best time? Today. Let's pause that real quick. For those who don't know, this week, I became an internet sensation. This week, I became an internet sensation. I posted a post on TikTok, and as of this morning, it has 2.7 million views. My followers went from 4,000 to 12,000 followers. It was 10 yesterday. I got 2,000 new followers, over 2,000 comments, and I've replied to every single one. I believe that. It's been shared over 6,000 times, and a 13-second video has been viewed for a total of 9,005 hours of viewing time. 9,005 hours of viewing time. The next video got 75 views. But it was awesome to be an internet sensation for a minute. And I'm here to report that I'm not an internet celebrity. Gina Bullock jumps in and says, I noticed that yesterday. Congratulations. Well, Gina, I'm not rock star famous yet, but you can say you knew me way back when. But I am here to report that I'm not an internet celebrity. And a lot of people, believe it or not, have already started messaging me asking within some of the comments and stuff, how do you get a video to blow up? Now, mind you, I didn't say anything in this video. I just had a reaction. I just literally ripped video from somebody else. It's 15 seconds. I had a reaction video. Good morning, Joe. I hope you're doing fantastic this morning, sir. So this week, I went viral. But then I failed on the second video. What's a guy to do? We've been focused internally on our business all year long, and now it's time to refocus on marketing. We've been focused on internal client service. We've been focused on our team. Now it's time to focus on marketing. What's a team to do? I had this huge video go viral, and now I got my second video that didn't do nothing. What's a guy to do? And this one time, in this third situation, I moved to Lakeland. And for those who don't know, I moved to Lakeland because of a dream. Yes, I had a dream. And though I moved here with my cousin and his wife at the time, they were only here a very short period of time before they said, that's it. We actually made a mistake. We're not supposed to be here. We're moving away. And I suddenly found myself without a place to stay. I had ended my job and my partnership as a remote worker. I was a remote worker way back then. I ended my job as a remote worker. This was 2006. I left my job because I parted ways. I had philosophical differences with my employer back in Vero Beach at the time. No job, no place to stay. And all I literally had was money for that month. Gas money, rent money, which I didn't need anymore because I didn't have a place to stay, and coffee money. And I was at a Panera Bread. And I was kind of crying in my milk thinking I prayed. I really did believe that God had led me to Lakeland. And I still believe that to this day, what you call God, what I call God, what we call the divine, whatever it is. All I had was really, my only plan was to have a cup of coffee that day in a city that I felt drawn to, where there was nowhere to stay. I was mentally prepared to sleep in my car. So let's pause that story too. What's a guy to do? This week I was talking with a friend. We're working on a coaching project together, a coaching app. And there's a lot of coaching apps. We're trying to do coaching apps a little bit differently, more reflectively, but also, well, we'll get into those nuances later. We were discussing challenges that coaches have. I've been coaching people now for a while. I've coached dozens. I've trained hundreds. And there is one factor that nearly everyone who fails has this one thing in common. I've coached a lot of people, and they might have even made it somewhere, but they have other goals, and they didn't make it to those goals. They don't see the successes they've had, and they're looking to goals that they've had, and they might have even pursued them. But nearly everyone who considers themselves a failure, because there's nothing objectively known as being a failure. We all can agree to that. There's nothing objectively out in the planet, out in nature, that says you failed, right? There is no pass or success in nature. You don't have a tree out here in the yard that succeeded or failed. You don't have a birds that succeeded or failed. You had something that lived and something that died. Why in human world do we even have this concept? We do, unfortunately. The thing that nearly all failures have in common is this. And hear me specifically, nearly all, not all. Nearly all failures have the one thing in common, and that is they didn't show up. Now, someone might have showed up for their goals, but at some point when they consider themselves a failure, if they track it back, at some point they stopped showing up. Real quick, Joe Child says this. Dr. Child says, got to put those goals far enough out into the future to keep pulling you forward. And we could get into the nuances of goals, because goals, in part, a large role that the goal plays in a human is just to pull them forward into the future to something better, not even to attain. Now, that is a big component of satisfaction, to have attained a goal you have chased. That's important, but we need to train our young people that having a goal isn't about having the goal and winning at that goal. It's about drawing you forward. They say that humans are teleological. We're one of the few species that we absolutely know that we don't progress as a species if we don't have a goal, like a humming pigeon. Nearly all failures either don't show up or stopped showing up for themselves. So when I think about these three situations, how these three situations planned out was this. Me and Marissa have been focused on our team internally. As we said, we've been focused on training our team and getting our team up and running. And yes, we've been renewing our marketing efforts because we've just been so focused on our current clients and existing clients and making sure they were happy and getting through the pandemic and encouraging people. And then, yes, we've gained some clients. We have grown as a company. We just didn't have the 20 and 30% growth we had in previous years. We just had lower growth this year. And as we ask ourselves, if we don't market, if we don't communicate to the market, we're going to fail. So what did we do? No, we're not just going to go pay for ads. What did we do? 3 weeks ago, me and Marissa had a concerted effort to start meeting as a team. We meet out for coffee. We work in our work day out at a coffee shop or Catapult, a co-working space. That one act, we showed up. And in showing up, this week alone, I have 4 new leads. 2 of them came directly from Catapulters. One of them came from someone that said, hey, I met someone and they said they saw you out at coffee. I was talking to someone and they said they know you from Catapult. And that sheer showing up with positivity, with intentionality, did the lion's share of the work to renewing that our pipeline is as full as we want it to be, because we have cut down. We used to do like 10 websites a month. We've raised our prices and now we only do 2 or 3 websites a month by choice. And now I've already got more leads than I know we could do in November and December by showing up for 3 weeks, showing up. So my TikTok video, yes, I went viral. Yes, I got 2.7 million views and it's growing. And I did a post the following day, and that post the following day had 75 views. But then I posted again, and then I posted again. And my relationship with my audience in TikTok has blown up. Some of my videos that used to only get 100 views, at 200 views, now are at 2,000 views and 3,000 views. I have to just keep showing up. When I moved to Lakeland, and I found myself looking at my last cup of coffee before I realized I was going to have to sleep in my car. Someone walked up to my table by the name of Chad Lindsay. Some of you know him. He manages the Keller Williams in Winter Haven. He's moved over to Winter Haven now. He's been in real estate for a long time. He walked up to me and said, hey, I saw you show up. And I had met with a bunch of young people who went to Southeastern at the time. We just met for coffee and we showed up to just connect and build relationship and rapport. And he said, I overheard you talking. I overheard the things on your heart. I overheard the passion you talk with. I overheard the guidance you were giving these young people. And I think you're a pretty interesting person. He handed me a card and he said, I know this is weird, but do you have a place to stay? And I ended up living with this guy for a while. Became a good friend. I was in his wedding. And it opened up the city of Lakeland to me. I met awesome people like Eddie Allen and a bunch of real estate people in town. I met interesting folks. There's some of the who's who of Lakeland. And to this day, those relationships remain in place and were the seed of my existence, because when I had a dream in Vero Beach, I just showed up. And when I am talking about showing up, I am not talking about, I guess I showed up. That's not showing up. That's making attendance. I'm here, and hopefully something good happens. And quite honestly, if you feel called to something and all you did was show up, I know that when I showed up to Lakeland, when me and Marissa moved back from the Dominican Republic, and we were looking to build our business, State of the Spark at the time, Spark Sites and State of the Spark Coaching, I didn't know what to say. All I did was show up at the LBL meetings at the time. It's now known as Bridge. I really loved it being called LBL, but Bridge is good enough. I showed up at the LBL meetings, and all I did was show up and shake hands. I invited people to coffee, and then I just showed up to those coffees. My point here is not to not be prepared. My point here is not to go through life with being a rude instrument and just invading spaces. But so many of you are not showing up for yourself and your home office. But more than that, more tangible than that, you're not showing up out in the workspace. You're not showing out in reality. You're not showing up at city meetings for things that bother you. You're not showing up at the voting booth when it's time to vote. You're not showing up for your spouse over dinner. You're too focused on work and you can't tear away from your obsession about it. You're not showing up for your team. You're just hoping they just kind of handle things, and you're not delegating successfully. You're not showing up. Grant, that would mean I have to get up a little earlier. That might mean I have to put some of these other goals to the side. Show up. I know that my problem is I show up too hard and I have to ramp back. But I would be much rather more guilty of that problem. How do I mean that? I wake up every stinking day, and it probably annoys Marissa, and I've got it on my calendar to get to the gym at a certain hour every single day. And for the last 3 weeks, maybe more, the day just gets consumed. And as we approach that timeline, I realize this has to fall away. But I'd rather have to cut things away than go searching for opportunities because I had nothing but dead ends. I'd rather have to cancel appointments or shift appointments or ask for grace because I had to show up later. I had to ask someone to shift to next week because I have options, instead of wondering where my next meal was coming from. Now, we could talk about preparation, right? If showing up is 65% of the thing. And I have other examples. I don't know if some of you know this. I had semester at sea ready to go, and I almost backed out because of fear. And my mentor at the time, Terry Crews, I will always be grateful for many things, but this one thing especially, I would be grateful for Terry Crews for this one thing. He nearly kicked my butt and said, you have to show up. Just get on the plane. Brock says, grateful for the intensity you show up with. Me and Brock, we've actually got some traction on some things we're working on. It took us a while, but I think we have a little bit of a groove on some stuff we're working on. So I appreciate that, Brock. I appreciate your words, man. But we have to show up for ourselves first and foremost, and then we have to show up for the world. And I want to encourage you, if there's a thing you've been sitting on and you've been prepping, yes, you need to come prepared. I remember I did show up once and I did fall flat. This is why I say nearly everyone who fails has this in common, because sometimes you fail and you did show up, and it's rarer. It's very rare that you could show up and fail. Let me give you an example. For those who've been to Islands of Adventure at Universal Studios, when I was a young buck, I was living in Orlando, and I heard about an audition. And I heard that you had to be a stuntman for this audition. And no one knew what the audition was for, but we knew that Islands of Adventure was going to be exciting and thrilling. And as a person who wanted to get into entertainment, I thought, hey, I'm a young guy. I can handle this. So I showed up, and they said, are you a stuntman? And I was like, yep. Yes, I totally lied. And I got into the stunt show. And Marissa knows this about me. I don't particularly like heights. I had no idea what the stunt show was. It was at the Wild Wild West stunt show that was being closed and turned into something new. and they wanted me to jump off of buildings. They wanted me to swing on little doohickey swings and all kinds of stuff. Now, I am happy to report that I made it to the cuts of the last two people. It was me and one other guy. And the whole time I was scared out of my mind because I don't like heights. And I failed. Of course, they picked the other guy. Of course, the story doesn't go that I became Spider-Man in the Spider-Man stunt show where they put electrodes on me and recorded me in 3D and doing all kinds of stunts. Of course, that wasn't me. Because even though I did show up, I wasn't prepared. We could talk about preparation, but I would much rather you start to inoculate yourself to showing up unprepared, because I'm telling you, how is it that I succeed so well now with very little prep? Well, partly I'm very skilled at the things I do. When I show up for website meetings, when I show up for public speaking, when I show up for coaching, I have frameworks that I've been working now for nearly 15 or 20 years in some situations. When it comes to websites, 20 years. When it comes to coaching, nearly 15 years. I can profile people. And this is why I just got off a phone call with a big company in town because they wanted this consultation. They just wanted to talk. What's your hourly rate? I don't even need you to do the work. I just need you to get on this phone call. Well, why can I do that? And I did prep for that, fortunately, because it was a really important client. But my prep is so much less. Why? Because I have practiced in the early days showing up at least with a framework. And if you can show up with a framework, you can get somewhere. So let me encourage you today. If you are feeling nothing but dead ends, this might not be you, but if you are feeling that you don't have enough options, if you're feeling that it's nothing but dead ends, if you are feeling like you need more opportunities, if you feel like you need more sales in your business, if you feel like you've got a passion project and you're avoiding going to that networking meeting and you're avoiding to go to dinner and you're avoiding people, if you're avoiding people, that alone should be a flag that you need to just show up. This is like taking cold showers or fasting. We're used to the dopamine drop of canceling appointments. We're used to the dopamine drop of taking a hot shower instead of a cold one. The mental resilience it takes to take a cold shower is the same mental resilience it takes to show up before you're ready. Bob Proctor, one of my mentors, and I'll leave you on this, his one quote resonates in my ear because I've listened to his audio now for 20 years so many times, and he has one whole CD. He's got an 8 CD set that I've turned into audio. No, I don't listen to CDs anymore, you young pups. It's actually audio file. And the audio file, one entire CD is dedicated to this one theme. Start before you're ready. You'll find good tools along the way, but show up. I know someone with a soap company, and she's been struggling to kind of come up with this other avenue, and her soaps are awesome. And I need to order more, actually. Her soaps are fantastic. Show up. Whatever it is you need to do, show up. Let me know how we can serve you today. Please join us on the Discord. Join us on the Facebook Goals and Gratitude group. If you want to follow us on our experiments and our financial freedom experiments and our crypto experiments, join the Patreon. But no matter what you do today, remember the mission: igniting lives of explosive significance, starting with your own. Have a great day.